Hello there, I've got another Spectrum today. Yeah, I think this is like Sinclair computer number 14 for me. So maybe I've got a bit of a problem, but who cares. Anyway, yes, this is a Spectrum Plus 2A, which I believe was released in 1987 at the same time as the Plus 3. And I think it shares a lot of the same architecture as the Plus 3, with the exception of the floppy disk controller. So this is Amstrad's take on a Sinclair Spectrum, and in typical Amstrad fashion they've made it a lot simpler to use. In fact, you know what, let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. Right, I'll use this one as an example. So this is the 128K, the last of the true Sinclairs, and you've just bought one of these and you want to set it up and play a game. So right, so as with any computer from the 80s, we're going to need our RF connection, we're going to need our power. So let's say I want to play a game with a joystick. I can't just plug one in, I'm going to need to put my interface in, and then I can plug my joystick in. Now I want to load a game, so I need my tape recorder. I'm going to need to connect those together. Then I'm going to need power for the tape recorder. That's another cable. And now the whole thing looks like it's on life support. Not only that, once we've got it all set up, we're going to need to try 3 or 4 times to get something to actually load, because we're going to have to start twiddling dials. We're going to have to start playing with volume control, tone control if you've got it as well, until we get that right setting and we can get something to load. Amstrad made this a little bit easier. So with Amstrad, what do we do to set up? Power supply, RF, and do I want to use a joystick? Yes I do. And we're done, and that's it. So we're not faffing around with connectors going every which way. Our tape drive is built in, so we don't have to play about with volume and tone settings. It's a lot more reliable way to load software. It just works a lot easier. If I'm honest, I'm kind of a purist and I prefer the older way of doing it, because that's what I'm used to, that's what I grew up with. But you've got to admit, there's an elegance to this. So let's have a little look around and see what we get. So, same keyboard as the Spectrum Plus in terms of layout. In terms of functionality, it's very similar feel, if not identical, to the Amstrad CPC. Built-in tape drive, obviously. On the side, we've got 2 joystick ports and a reset button. And on the rear, we've got our printer connection, power supply, expansion, so I think that's the same as the edge connector on an older Spectrum. RS-232, auxiliary, I think on the Spectrum 128 that was referred to as the keyboard input, I think. RGB, RF, and this doubles as the ear and mic sockets. So it's a stereo 3.5mm jack that you can split out into 2 mono cables. So you can connect external speaker, external cassette deck, sound device, whatever you want. This machine was sold to me as working but with a noisy tape drive. That's not quite the case. I'll power it up now and I'll show you what I mean. Right, so I'm looking at this on RF and I'm getting a nice clear crisp picture. However, the keyboard is pretty much unresponsive. The enter key works, the break key works once, but when you hit it again, nothing. Reset is fine. I can hold reset and brake and I get the test signal with the bleeps. Now, when I first got this, the keyboard, other than the brake key, wouldn't work at all. I was getting absolutely nothing, and I was getting no sound either. So I was getting that test card, but no audio. I was noodling about with it the other day, and I took the board out and I cleaned it with a bit of IPA around the gate array. And I'm getting a bit more response out of it now. The sound came back. Some of the keys work, but not all, so I've still got a fault. So I can't see any damage to the board. Maybe it was just a bit of muck or something had fallen into it, which was causing a bit of a problem with the signals. I don't know. Cleaning it seemed to help, but I've still got this keyboard problem. So that's something that needs looking into. Tape deck, I think it's okay. It seems to work, but yeah, it doesn't sound well. So I'm going to need to investigate why it's making that noise. But it functions. Yep, seems fine. Okay, let's dig into it and see if we can do something with this keyboard fault. So this is the gate array, and this is what I cleaned around, which seemed to improve the performance of the keyboard slightly, but I've still got problems. So I'm wondering, maybe I've got a couple of different problems. Maybe this is now fine, and it's the keyboard on the machine itself that's the problem. So I've got an idea. This is my Spectrum Plus 3, which I'm pretty sure has the exact same keyboard as what's in the Plus 2. So I'm going to, because I know this is a good keyboard, I know this works, I'm just going to temporarily substitute it and see if we get the same errors. And that'll help pinpoint where the problems are. Just while I've got these apart, let's have a look at the differences between the Plus 2A and the Plus 3 inside. It's basically identical, but without the floppy disk controller part. That seems to be the only change, but yeah, Plus 3's got a much bigger board. I believe if you connect a floppy disk drive up to a Plus 2A, the OS will update to Plus 3, so it's already got the routines built in. I'm not sure, I've not tried it. Well, there you go. Plus 2A computer with a Plus 3 keyboard. Let's see. Aha! Yeah, everything seems to work. Yeah, okay, well that confirms it. The problem I've got is with the keyboard itself, so that's the next job. Let's take a keyboard out. So what have we got? We've got screws around the edges and one right under that PCB. That's handy. So that'll have to come off first, I think. This looks very similar to an Amstrad CPC design, so it should be a case of just pushing these tabs back. See what happens. Well, it's filthy, but I can't see any actual damage. Maybe it just wants to clean and it'll be fine. Maybe. Let's see what we can do. Baby wipes. You can fix everything with a baby wipe. Let that air out a little bit. Good lord. There's chunks of all sorts in there. Let's just give it a little wipe out. let that dry for a few minutes. Got the membrane hooked up just on its own. Let's see if we get any more functionality out of it. I hope the membrane's okay, because I really don't think I can get replacements for it. Let's see what we've got. Ooh. Okay, arrow keys are working, and they weren't before. Brake and then brake again. Yeah, okay. So the membrane seems fine. Let's put it back in the keyboard now. I've cleaned all the gunk out of it, and maybe that was the problem. Hopefully that was the problem. Right, I've refitted the membrane. Let's just see if it all works as a unit. Maybe, maybe not. Oop. I'm going to have to sort of hold this because there's a big metal plate on the bottom. Yeah, my arrow keys are now working. I think that was a success. Yes, wonderful. Making progress, excellent. So the only thing that was stopping this keyboard from working properly was a bit of fluff. It must have been holding a key down or something, maybe, I don't know. So what I'm going to do is take this apart again, and I'm going to give everything a good clean, because, right, what I want to do with this machine is I want to recap it. So I've got those on order, they haven't turned up yet. I want to service the tape deck, and I've got a belt on order which hasn't turned up yet. So while I'm waiting for things, I might as well get this keyboard cleaned up. Give the case a wash while I'm at it as well. I did make an Amstrad CPC video a while back about removing keys from this type of keyboard. I think the Spectrums are the same. You don't want to be using a key puller. I mean, you'd probably be fine, but there's little hooks on the keys and you've got the chance of breaking them. So I would always push them through from the other side. So some of the bigger keys have got these stabilizer bars on them, and they come out just with a little simple click. So you just gently lever it with a screwdriver, and he says that doesn't want to move. There we go. Helps if you press the key in from the back. There we go. And then the keys are on these little hooks, and you just want to push the tabs down slightly, very gently. It doesn't take much force. And the key pops out with the spring. So I'm going to do that for all of them. They're all going to go into a nice soapy bath. Let it dry and then I can reassemble. Word of caution. The key springs and the spacebar springs are different, so keep them separate. While I'm at it, I might as well give the whole case a clean, so this tape deck mechanism will have to come out. Let's see. Get the screws I put in earlier. One there, one there, one there, and one underneath it. Okay. There we go. There it goes. Almost. Yeah, we're off. So that can go in the wash. That can go in the wash. That can go in the wash. Let's throw the bottom half in as well. Right, bath time. So while I'm waiting for some parts to come in, I can at least get the keyboard back together. I think the less bits I've got floating around the better. So I'll start with all the keys that need those stabiliser bars. So refitting should be very simple. Just put the spring in. If it's like the Amstrad, the CPC, the key should just snap in. Yep, okay. Right, now I just need a stabiliser bar. So these should click in fairly straightforward. Right. Helps if you press the key down a bit. It's one side, that's the other. Perfect, right. I'm going to do that for the rest of the keys now. Right, looking at the tape drive, and I don't know if it came up on the microphone on the camera okay, but when I tested it, there was a clicking noise. And I think I've found the fault. It looks like part of the pause mechanism is broken. So let's see if I can show you. Right, you see underneath the flywheel, there's this white little piece here. That's a push fit with a spring on it, and it holds this this little lever in place, and that's part of the pause mechanism. Well, this top bit's cracked and it's lifted up and it's rubbing against the wheel. So I'm going to have to take it apart and glue it back down, I think. In order to do that, I'll have to take this wheel off. And to take the wheel off, I'm going to have to take a circlip off on this Caspian pinch roller, sorry. So I'm going to do that off camera because I think it's going to be unbelievably fiddly doing it working around a camera. I'll bring you back when I've made some progress. Right, so pulley's off, there it is. And the parts are over here. I've put a £1 coin there just for scale. So there's the circlip, there's the spring, there's the lever, and that is the bit, it's a friction fit. That's the bit that's actually failed that I've got to glue on. So again, I'm just going to clean the grease off things so that the glue's got something to stick to, and I'll bring you back when it's all back together again. And with the tiniest of tiny blobs of glue later, that is what we should end up with. That looks correct. It should be okay. It should no longer hit the flywheel. I've just got to put that back on and then we should be done. Right, I'm back. From your perspective, I've probably not gone anywhere, but yeah, it's been a couple of weeks actually since I last looked at this. Mainly because I've been waiting on parts. And parts now seem to have arrived because I have some capacitors. I have a new drive belt because the old one, yeah, It's probably seen better days. And I've also bought, although it's designed for cars, some silicone lubricant. So I'm just going to go around this and clean up a few parts. What was I doing 2 weeks ago? Oh yeah, that was it. I had repaired the pause lever here. If you remember, this part had separated and it was rubbing on this pulley. I've reinstalled the pulley now and that is now spinning free with no interference. So hopefully that's what was making all the noise. So with a new belt on, this should work quite well. I've gone around and de-dusted the mechanism. I've cleaned the heads. I just want to give it a little bit of lubricant. Although the lubricant that's on it seems pretty good. I'll just give it a little bit more while it's in this dismantled state. I'll recap the board while I'm here as well, and then that can go back in the case. Let's see if we can do this without breaking anything. Oh, sorry, bumped the camera. Do apologise. Marvellous. Right, I confused myself with the screws. I just had to go and check something. These top three need screws. And this centre one needs a screw. But these two edges are held in by the case. So the case screws go right through, so I'm okay there. So that goes there, or it will do. And that can come out of there. That goes in there. Yeah, I thought I'd lost a load of screws then, but no, it's just me. I had to go and check the video. So yeah, 3 at the top, 1 in the bottom. Case screws go through there. Let's put the tape unit back in. So in fact, let's put the LED back in first. That's probably make more sense. I'll finish it off with a nice new drive belt. so with the main board, I'm going to do the same thing I did with the tape deck PCB. I'm just going to go through and recap it. And I don't think these have the same problem as earlier Spectrums, in which case you've got some really dodgy capacitors. You really do need to change them. I think they're generally okay, but while I've got them and while they're fairly cheap, I think I'll just change them, and it's, you know, it's one less thing to fail in the future. Right, that was a job, because every component leg that tried to desolder was folded flat to the board, so just an unnecessary level of difficulty right there. No reason why this can't all go back together now, so let's do that. Right, I've put power to it and I haven't completely killed it. So, is my keyboard working? Seems to be. Always a good start. Tape deck. Still making a little bit of a noise, but I think that's probably normal. It's not what it was, it's a lot quieter than it was. Okay, let's try it with some software. Right, I've got a copy of Zip Zap because it's an absolute classic and I don't care what anyone says. Reset that. Let's give it a go. Hopefully it won't chew the cassette. Where are we? Sounds nice and steady. Let that run, see what it does. Alright, that worked. First go. Right, where's me? What are we doing? We want a... I don't think this supports any of these joysticks. I don't know. Let's try Fuller. AGF? I don't know. No, I have no joystick. I have the wrong setting for the joystick, but fine. Anyway, yeah, this seems to... I am better at this game, honest with the working controls. Yeah, this seems to work. Let me just mute that before I get a copyright strike. I've got it hooked up to an RGB cable now, so we're not using the RF. And I'm getting an absolutely amazing picture out of it now. And the good thing about these is it also outputs the sound through the SCART. Wonderful. Yeah, I think overall I'm really happy with this now. It had 2 faults. It had a keyboard fault and a bit of an iffy tape drive. Both really easy fixes. It seems to work flawlessly now. So yeah, I think this is going to become my daily driver for a while. Really impressed with it. So I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to go and play some games, I think. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it, and have a pleasant day.